I'm Michelle Carrillo, and I'm so excited to be talking with you guys. If you know, you know, this is my first official video on this new channel that I'm creating, and I really wanted to start it off by just setting the foundation of me, who I am, what my story is, and just like the different crazy lessons that I personally learned by growing the courage to literally graduate college and then 1 month later on a whim, move across the country from Illinois to Miami. And I just want to share with you guys the lessons that I learned. So let's go ahead and get into it. Currently, I am 23 years old. So I've been living in Miami for about 11 months. At the end of this month, it is going to be officially 12 months. And it's been a crazy ride for sure. Before this, you know, I grew up in Illinois, went to college in Illinois. Everything that I did was in Illinois. And so while it is so amazing there, hence why I'm going back, there was always a strong part of me in high school that felt super called to Miami. I loved the weather. I loved the energy. I loved the music. I used to put Miami at this pedestal where I was like, okay, if I could do that one day, it would be amazing. By year 3 in college, I was like, what can I do? How can I move to Miami? What if I actually did this, right? What if it was just not a thought, but what if we actually did it? So I talked to my boyfriend about it. We came to the conclusion that, hey, we want to move to Miami. We think it would be sick. We think it would be a great experience. It was probably like a year before we actually made the move that we sat down, really talked about everything, and really finalized our decision. And so the first big thing that we had to do is we had to talk to our family. That was like the scariest part, is telling your family that you're moving across the country and you don't know if you're going to be there for 1 year, for 3 years, for 10 years. The first conversation that I had with my parents about moving across the country, they literally were sitting there like, this is, yeah, like that's not gonna happen. I had to have that conversation with them. It was super difficult, and I explained to them, you know, really the goal behind it. I had to sit them down when we were in the mix of arguing, and I literally had to say to them like, hey, I will be a millionaire one day. I will be making multiple 7 figures. And my whole family was sitting there with my mom, my sister, my brother, my dad. I was like, I will be making 7 figures. And I think Miami is in my chapter because I know that there's lessons that are there that I have not learned yet. My parents kind of like eased down, and they were like, you know what? Like, we're supporting you. Whatever you want to do, we're going to support you. But that's scary. And then probably like 4 or 5 months before I actually moved to Miami, we came for New Year's. So it was the New Year's before we moved. So we moved in June, New Year's before. We came here to Florida. Garrett and I leave. We started to look at different neighborhoods, just get a feel for it. We even drove my parents like 10 minutes down the block and showed them the neighborhood that we liked at the time. And my parents were like not impressed at all. We were literally on our way back home. And my mom was just like, hey, like, I don't know if you should do this. It's very scary. Like, what if something happens? One of the comments that my mom made to me while we were at Denny's is that she had a dream that I ended up homeless in Miami. And while that might sound so funny, you guys, in the moment, I was actually fuming pissed. One of the lessons with just having to have self-belief, right? So I took that, I used it as fire, I kept going, I figured out a way. When it came time to actually move, I packed my car. My mom was the one that walked me all the way to my car. She hugged me, she started crying. She was like, I will always support you, but like, I'm gonna miss you. What if you go and you love it so much and you never come back? Sometimes parents say things that it's like, that's not even a little bit helpful. That actually is extremely discouraging, but getting deeper to like, you know, she was just gonna really miss me and was scared of me loving it so much that I wasn't gonna come back. Yeah, we packed our car and we actually made the trip all the way to Miami, Florida, moved into an apartment that we had never toured in the first place. And this is the one that we're living at right now. So it's the perfect first apartment. But now that you guys know a little bit more, let's get into the lessons that I learned. I have my notes. And so lesson number 1, things can change really fast. Don't count yourself out. To see where I was at, where I could not save more than $2,000 to my name, where I was working as a host and I was super unhappy. I remember crying like when I would actually leave work and just knowing that I was meant to do something bigger. And then a whole year later, I'm living in Florida, living in my, you know, first dream apartment, living with my dream person. I've hit 10K months with, you know, what I'm currently doing for work. I get to do what I want to do. It's on my own terms with my own schedule. It's just crazy how fast things can change. You might be in a situation right now where you're kind of feeling like, hey, you have these goals and right now you're doing X, Y, and Z and it doesn't seem realistic. Most of the big goals that people achieve at one point seem unrealistic. Lesson number 2, you will find a way if it's something that you really want. Believing is the key factor. That's literally just bouncing right off of number 1. It's knowing that, hey, if you want to do something, there's always a way. I think that things happen twice, once in our head, the second time in real life. And so the first step is you actually believing that it can happen and knowing that things can change really fast. Just because of your current situation and how it is doesn't mean that you have to be stuck there in the next 12 months. 12 months is a really long time. And I think with that too is that you need to be the person in your life that most believe that it's possible, because a lot of times, like, people will count you out of your dreams. You have to be the one that counts yourself in and says, hey, you know what? Like, I can do it. I'm destined to do this. It's going to happen one way or another. And the world just has to shift and be in alignment with the fact that this is going to happen. I see the difference when you believe in your goals, when you know that they're going to happen. You stop focusing on the exterior and try to mold yourself to fit the exterior, and you start making the exterior fit yourself. Lesson number 3, separation and isolation is necessary for growth. Taking myself out of that environment, going to a whole different place where me and Garrett didn't know anybody, that worked in our favor because we had no distractions. We had nobody's beliefs being plastered on us. And it was literally like a whole year of just complete reset. And that was one of the biggest things that I learned, is that you get to grow. And it puts you in a position where you have to learn to love being alone sometimes. You also have to learn that, like, hey, you get to choose the results that you get in your life, and you don't have anybody in your ear telling you what you can and can't do. And so I appreciated that. I think that that allowed me the space to grow. Lesson number 4, hitting lows actually helps you get to the highs in your life. If you guys listen to my podcast, it's called Seeking Leverage, but it was initially called Girl Let's Grow. I think it's like the last podcast that I posted on there. I talked about how I moved to Miami, how I maxed out my credit card, how I was doing horribly financially, and how that led me to have my first 10K month. And it was crazy because that was such a low for me. Who the fuck is doing construction on a fucking Sunday, you guys? It's 3 o'clock. And so that low actually caused me to finally say, like, hey, I'm ready to look at a new opportunity. I'm ready to apply for a job. I'm ready to see what my options are. So I found this sales job where it was commission-based sales. I could make 10%. So I was able to figure out a vehicle where I actually could make that 10K that I had always dreamed of. I applied to be a setter, you know, that first position, you know, which was, I think, about 3-4K a month-ish was going to be what I was going to be making doing that. Went to the interview, killed the interview, got the closer position. The person that actually interviewed me stopped me midway through the interview and said, hey, why are you interviewing for this position? You need to be interviewing for that one. And I was like, well, I've never done that. And he was like, well, you're so good at talking to people. You're so good at just connecting with someone. You need to be doing that. Hey, you're playing yourself so small. Like, I almost literally teared up because I was like, that's so true. So I got this job 2 months later. Oh, I think it was my third month, second official month, but third month because I started midway through September. So it was November. I hit my first 10K month. So awesome because of the way that I said things can change very fast, but the lows helped me get to the highs. Lesson number 5, you attract what you think about most. Like, imagine that you are putting yellow glasses on, and so every time that you look outside, you see yellow stuff. You see yellow cars, yellow flowers. That's what you see because that's the type of glasses that you're wearing. When you're thinking negatively and all you're doing is coming up with excuses, complaining, talking shit about people, those are the glasses that you've put on yourself. So now every time that you are actually doing something, you're just attracting and looking at that. It really just came to the surface here because I had the opportunity to look at the financial situation that I put myself in and say, hey, my mom was right. I'm gonna be a homeless person here in Miami. And if I would have had those glasses on, it would have 100% not worked out. But I think that because I was in such a bad position and I knew that I was going to attract what I focused on, I had to put my thinking glasses on and say, what am I going to do? What's the opportunity? You know, I know something is going to happen. We've been working towards it. Lesson number 6, I'll keep it very short, but it really allowed me to look at the vehicle that I was in. I was like, what if I use the skill sets that I already have, but now look at a different vehicle where I could use those same skill sets and maybe move a little bit faster? Is what you're currently doing in alignment with your goals? And if not, let's start looking for new opportunities. Let's start asking around. Let's go on money Twitter, right? Let's ask some questions, people, because you never know what you don't know. And the only way you will find more opportunities and more vehicles is by simply asking and getting more information. Lesson number 7, family and the little things are what matter most. Yes, yes, and 1,000,000% yes. I think moving to Miami, like, I had so much growth that happened, but I feel like the biggest thing that I personally learned is that I love my family so much that I could be anywhere in the world with palm trees and the prettiest weather and the prettiest scenery, and that would never be as fulfilling to me as being at my parents' place, hanging out with my siblings and my parents and just talking to them, hugging them, laughing with them. And I think that's the biggest reason that I'm going back, is because I miss my family and the little things. And it just made me realize how important they are to me. And I knew that before, but I think when you separate and when you leave for a while, it makes you realize how important the people in your life really are to you and how they've shaped you and how their words impact you and how sometimes when you're having a bad day, you just want to like get a hug from one of them. So lesson number 8 that I learned is that people have a lot of money in Miami. Money is abundance, and it allows you to just impact in a bigger way. And so that, I think I already knew that there was a lot of money to go around. There was a lot of very rich people, but coming to Miami, it really made me realize that there is a lot of money out there, because coming from a college town where literally people are asking you for $2 back, if you can Venmo them $2 back for, you know, a drink or food or an Uber, like, and then you go to Miami and people are like, I'll pay for the meal, I got the drink. Like, no stinginess going on. Abundance, abundance, abundance when it comes to finances. A lot of people think about money as like a pie, to where if someone takes a piece of it, now there's less. So if someone is taking 70% of the pie, there's only 30% left. Versus when you think like that, that's so limiting. And it makes you just look at opportunities so hard, think that you only deserve so little, there's not enough to go around. Versus when you think bigger and you don't put your money beliefs into a little pie, now they're just abundant. There's enough to go around. Even hitting that first 10K goal was super insane, because I realized that I didn't have to work harder. I just had to work a little bit smarter. I had to figure out how to leverage my time to make more money, which is what a lot of people in Miami are doing. They're not working harder, they're just working smarter. And so now my goal in the next, like, I would say probably by the end of 2023 is to hit my first 30K a month in, like, just for me. And I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I know that there's a lot of people out there in the world that are making $30,000 in 5 minutes. So I'm going to figure out how to do that myself too, because money is abundant. Money is my friend, money loves me, and money is an energetic match, and we are energetic matches for our goals. So lesson number 9 is really just that manifestation is real. I actually manifested all of this. This white couch was on my vision board. This apartment in my vision board. Miami on my vision board. Having my first 10K month on my vision board. I actually made myself a fake check with $5,000 because I had never made more than $2,000 in a month, and I thought, oh my God, it would be so insane if I made $5,000 in a month. And to do numbers way beyond that, I also have a paper that I wrote myself a goal for last May, where I said I wanted to have $10,000. I think it was $10,000. No, it was $20,000 in my bank account by May of 2022. And that didn't end up happening May of 2022, but it did end up happening by May of 2023. Last but not least lesson is lesson number 10, which is if you never do it, you're always going to have the regrets. Miami has been the most insane experience of my life. I've experienced so much. My life has completely changed. My perspective has changed. I've met some amazing people. I've had some super amazing opportunities. I've been able to go on boats in the middle of the week, random times during the year. And like I said, I've dreamed about living in Miami my whole life. Like literally since I was a freshman in high school to the end of senior year in college. That's literally 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 8 years that I dreamed of living in Miami. I dreamed of what it would feel like. If I never gave myself the opportunity and if I never moved to Miami, I 100% know that I would always be thinking about Miami. I would always be wondering, well, what if that would have happened? What if I would have gave myself a chance? What if I would have started making excuses for myself, like, oh, well, some people have more money than me, they could do that. Like, I would have given myself all of the excuses, rather than now that I actually did it, that I actually went for it, and I actually made it happen and persevered through all of the struggle and all of the pain. And I get to just put it in my back pocket, save it as memories, and always remember Miami for how amazing and fun it was. If you have goals, you're never gonna know unless you know, right? You're never like, you're always gonna have that thought in the back of your head that, what if I would have done that? What if I would have done that? My tip is just do it. Just like Nike said, just do it. Go watch the Air movie. That was fire, A1. But like, you're never going to know, and you're always gonna have that regret if you don't at least give yourself the opportunity. If you did like today's video, definitely subscribe. It's my first video, so I'm excited. I've always wanted to do that. It leads me to this. I've always wanted to grow on YouTube. I used to have a YouTube channel when I was in high school, got it to 400. I was so consistent on there. Camera broke. I didn't have the money. Use that as an excuse. But for the last 6 years of my life, I've thought about that YouTube channel and what would have happened if I kept going. And I'm tired of also having that regret in my life. So I hope you guys decide to subscribe and interact with me and see how far we can take this channel. And I really just want to share my wisdom and what's helped with me leveling up in my life, and just different things. We'll do lifestyle, we'll do vlogs, we'll do tips and tricks, all the fun stuff. So I love you guys, and I'll see you next week for the next video. Bye.